Okay, today I'm going to be reacting to Dave Matthews Band. My name is Erica. Welcome to my channel. People request things. That's how I get this content. So on my reaction, on my link tree, just click request form and put in a request if you want me to react to something. This request for Dave Matthews Band came from one of my followers, and he wrote a whole introduction about DMB. Now, by the way, I've heard the main Dave Matthews songs, okay, like Crash Into Me, baby. And then there's like, dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. She run down, she run down. Okay, I've heard those ones. But this person felt compelled to write me an entire intro, which I might as well read because what else are we here? To understand the world, you must first understand a place like Mississippi. William Faulkner. This is the first thought that came to mind in putting this together. Except this version is more like to understand Dave Matthews. You must first understand why people are so enamored with his music. It's not about the catchy 3-minute ditties, as John Popper would put it. The music is about deep emotional lyricism, complex musicianship, and above all, empathy for the human race and living for today. Above all things, if kindness is your thing, then heaven will be yours before you meet your ends. A quote by Dave Matthews himself. I'm not sure how much background you want, but just to hit some high points in case you need them. Dave Matthews was born in South Africa. Ooh, I didn't know that. He lived there for most of his early childhood. The family moved to the States, but after his father died at age 10, they moved back to South Africa. Sometime in his early adult life, they moved back to the States. He didn't go to college, spent a bit of time bouncing around Europe, particularly in Amsterdam. Eventually, he wound up in Charlottesville, Virginia, where he became a bartender at a place called Miller's. I decided to change my accent. This is where he would meet and form friendships with Leroy Moore, sax, Carter Beauford, drums, and Tim Reynolds, all of whom were well-established musicians in the Charlottesville scene and playing in the other bands. Eventually, I'm trying to go more southern now. Eventually, he worked up the courage to show Roy and Carter the songs that that's very New York, he'd be working on, and it was decided that they would form a band with him to support him. They would add Stefan Lessard, who was 16 but considered a bass prodigy. Later on, they would add Boyd Tinsley, who was also a well-established musician in the Charlottesville scene. The band played their first gig in the spring of '91 and shortly after started playing weekly gigs at a place called Tracks in Charlottesville. Very quickly started arriving big crowds from UVA students every week. Their live tapes would start to spread throughout the region, and by 1993, they were touring the country. In November 1993, they released an independent album titled Remember Two Things and shortly after signed with RCA Records. They released Remember Two Things in '94 and followed it up with Crash in '95. And from there, grew into the largest live touring act in the world. I could go way deeper, but that's the basics. All right, the brief overview. The core 4 members, Dave Matthews, Carter Beauford, Stefan Lessard, Leroy Moore. I'll have you to explain his death in detail. Okay. Boyd, violin. He was sexual misconduct from a member. Ooh, side band. Okay. Along that, it seems to have been struggling with substance abuse, and they have not had a full-time violinist since then. And then Tim Reynolds, guitar, 5th original member. He was never part of the band. He appeared as a guest, albums, blah, 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 blah. Fish Connections. The band's manager started Red Light Management, through which he manages a ton of names, including Fish. Beyond Trey and Dave's friendships and collaborations, both bands have joined each other on stage in various capacities. Leroy in particular joined Fish on stage, a bop theme from the bottom, jam, funky bitch. Okay, so then he recommends some things. I'm going to play through one of these today. Maybe in the future I'll get through more of them. If I see another reaction to Bartender Live at Radio City, I'm going to scream. Okay, so that's why he chose these things for me. They're by Chester Copperpot. Is that a real person or it's his like fake name? Because Chester Copperpot was the name of the explorer in Goonies, okay? So it must be like his taper name, like Chester Copperpot. I'm like, there's no way. Okay, so that was a very detailed introduction before I even get to the music, which again, I've heard Dave Matthews before, but just their main hits. There were some kids in my high school who were really into Dave Matthews, and they just called it Dave. And I remember being like, okay. But they're kind of like the stoner kids, honestly. And I was like, what's up with that, right? So I always just associate it as kind of like a druggy band. And so I think that's why I didn't really listen to it beyond Crash Into Me. And honestly, The way he sings, you got your bow, you got your chain tied to me tight on anyway. See how I can imitate that? It's because there's like a weird. I'm the king of the castle, you're the dirty rascal, crash into me. I do like that song though. It's a good song. All right. This was at Giant Stadium in July of 2000. Oh, wow. I would have been in high school. How cute. So, yes, maybe some of those kids I was just talking about from my high school attended this concert, and I was just like over my head. I wasn't even. Remember, guys, I just found out about Fish in 2024. I mean, I knew of Fish. I'd never heard a song. So I just was kind of not in this genre. I was listening to more like punk rock in high school, oldies music, Beatles. What other bands? Oh, Foo Fighters. I'm just more into like straight alt, like Foo Fighters, Stone Temple Pilots, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Okay, that was like my just straight up. Okay, all right, let's hear this. I may type notes. Okay, right off the bat, I'm going to rewind to when he starts singing. I like that they have like a saxophone. I like that they have violin. It's very full sounding. All right.
I'll just look at our silly song, but she says nothing of what she thinks. But she just listens to the same old thing, running out onto Green Street.
Okay, I like that chorus had a different chord progression, and it was a really nice chord progression. And look, they just brought it back to the main riff, which I love a good riff, so I'm in it.
She prays to God most every night, although she swears he doesn't listen. It's open her that he just might. Possessions of his eyes make it real as anything. It takes the work out of your courage. She said, please, there's a crazy man creeping outside my door. I live on the corner of Gray Street. It's at the end of the world. And the road tightens, and the wings can fly. Out of bright light she falls
sing "And the Color." Is it going to come back with that song?
Thank you.
Is that it? And the color, na na na, then it passes into light. Na 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 na, na 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 na. Dave recovers from a broken. My alarm from a broken string. They're just gonna tune now. Okay, they're tuning up. I guess.
Yeah. Hope y'all having a good time tonight. Hope you very much would like to bring the ladies out again.
Okay, so his guitar string broke, so he had to retune. Okay, I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I had never heard them play anything live, honestly. I just heard their like Ants Go Marching, the other ones I talked about, whatever. Very good. This to me is very Xennial core. By Xennial, I mean people born between like 1975 and 1985. Like the younger Gen X and the older millennial. To me, that's what we call Xennial, and I think this is very Xennial core. I was not. I just have the reason I was never in the druggy scene. I'm not trying to say that all like jam bands or druggy scene or whatever, but I have noticed since getting involved in like going to Fish shows, there's definitely a drug culture that follows the lot. That for some people is a big part of the experience. So that was just never something I was in. So like I can understand that if my friends were into like the weed culture in high school and that was my association with the Dave Mathews Band, maybe that's why I just wasn't in it. Also, like my parents were very protective. They would have never let me go to San Francisco to see a concert like this with just my friends. They once let me go to. My teacher sophomore year was my mentor, and I like she got me into Tori Amos, and my parents did let my teacher and her husband take me to Tori Amos in Oakland at the Fox Theater, and I got back like really late on a school night. So yeah, I guess my mom took me to Tori Amos as well during high school, so I definitely went to shows, and my mom took me to Red Hot Chili Peppers with a bunch of my friends. I don't know. They wouldn't have let me just like go off with boys who could drive and like go to a show like this. No way. No way. And I think that was probably for the best, So yeah, but great. I mean, I obviously know like Dave fans range from everything. It's not just stoners, whatever. If that word offends you, I'm sorry. Trigger warning. I may use offensive language. I just mean people who use marijuana. Like basically. But I think that they're really good. And again, I think that people who don't use marijuana also can like Dave Mathews Band, and people who don't drink, and sober people or drunks alike. Everybody can like Dave Mathews Band. It's a pretty broad appeal. I mean, his voice is good. He has presence on stage. They have a full sounding band with a violin and a saxophone, so not just the basic instruments of a rock band. These lyrics are really deep. These lyrics are straight up poetry. I'm not going to lie. They don't even repeat. Most of the time you get a chorus and you get a refrain that keeps getting over and over. Every chorus had different lyrics. So the story is progressing through that. So that's incredibly good. Like just as songwriting goes, that's like incredibly, incredibly good compared to like a lot of songs, which are very formulaic. So that alone stands out for me as like, good job, Dave Mathews. You surpassed my expectations today. I think reading the introduction by my follower, my subscriber, really helped me get more of an insight into this band that I literally just had never thought about before. Like never in my mind was I like, let me look up the story of Dave Mathews Band. Never once in my life did I ever think of doing that. But again, I just heard Ants Go Marching all the time. Down, 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 down. There's a little bluegrassy. Yeah, but it's cool. Very unique sound. But like I said, Xennial core. Something I probably should have liked. I was at the very end, very, very end of Xennial. So a lot of that stuff I wasn't into. I was like kind of young for my age. I was always like playing with dolls and stuff. And like, again, like I said, my parents are very strict. So yeah. Anyway, great. I hope you enjoyed that reaction to Gray Street. Gray Street's awesome. Really good song. I'm impressed. So thank you for recommending and teaching me about Dave Matthews Band. I feel like I learned a lot. But yeah, we can discuss so the reason I can see why people would not consider them a jam band is that they did not depart from their song thematically. They stayed in the same key area, they stayed in the same riff. What I've seen from Fish and Goose and whatever jamming bands, Umphreys, McGee, who else have I seen? King Gizzard, it's questionable whether they're a jam band as well, though they do jam. So, but they're also just considered like a prog rock. However, I think you have to kind of think of like a Fish jam when they basically completely depart from the song they started in, go into a completely new place, jam on like 20 minutes, make up some new themes, go into some, and Goose did that too. They went on this new theme that wasn't part of the original song, and they just went on and on and on about it for like 25 minutes before they got back to like 726 or whatever it's called. So I just think what I heard today, I wouldn't classify as a jam band. If anything, I'd say it has more bluegrass elements because of the guitar. And then you have that jazz element with the saxophone. So I'd say it's more like Pan-Americana rock or something. Like take all the styles of American music like jazz and bluegrass, rock and roll, put it together, you get Dave Matthews Band. So that's my analysis that so far. But some people think they're jam band. I'd have to hear a jam, okay? I'd have to hear a real jam, not just them thematically staying in the same key and doing the same riff over and over and just riffing over it. Because that's easy. I mean, I could do that. I'm in a Grateful Dead cover band. I can also improvise over like a key if I know what key we're in and we're just, jamming for a number of bars over a key. That's not us going together as a band into like a whole nother place and then like coming back the way Fish does. So it's just a different thing. But you can argue about it in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. So anyway, thank you for the recommendation. If you want to recommend something to me, just fill out my reaction form. Like I said, I'm going through my donated requests. There's like PayPal and Cash App and credit card, whatever, with Stripe. I have a Patreon where videos come out early, and I have some, I'll send secret videos to my Patreon members and little like updates like that. I have a big group of the Warning fans over there and some other bands. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in today on Erica Reacts, and I can't wait to see what y'all recommend to me next as I catch up on this backlog and get ready for my trip to Hampton, Virginia to see Fish at the Hampton Coliseum for 3 nights. Okay, bye.